Hello, video once more. Mm, so I've been making a habit of going to ayahuasca ceremonies and then talking about them. And the last time I went to an ayahuasca ceremony was just over a month ago, and I've forgotten to speak about it, to say what it was like. And so I'd like to take the time now to do that exactly. Yes. The two ceremonies I attended last month were on the nights of November the 10th and November the 11th. That seems pretty nice, November the 11th, 11/11th. Mm. And I ended up going to these ceremonies via double mutual invitation that I had with a friend, unexpectedly. And and I wasn't really sure why I was going. Part of it was that I wanted to invite this friend of mine that was partially interested in it, and then he encouraged me to go with him to be together, and that was the main motive for me to go there. Although for myself, as in the direction for my own life, I wasn't quite clear on what I was going to have as my intention, and it was okay. It didn't matter. I went there and I attended the ceremonies, and we had two ceremonies. So I guess right now I'm speaking about my ayahuasca ceremony number 7. And I will later speak about number 8. There is a noteworthy prelude to this ceremony, because in those days I was trying to have a very regular and healthy morning routine. I would get up every morning, and I was trying to do 3 things in the mornings: take a cold shower and go out and touch the ground with my feet, based on some information I got from the internet. And so one of those days I was going outside, and it was sunny outside, and I walked outside. I walked on the grass, and it was cold, but the air was really fresh, and I was just breathing in the sun and the fresh air, and I got this feeling in me that I was hungry. And so part of me just felt like, okay, well, hungry, let's go have breakfast right now. And yet in those days I was feeling kind of bloated, like belly bloated. And I realized that I was eating more than I really needed, and yet I continued just because I could continue eating. And so in that moment I realized, wait, am I actually hungry? Or is it just that my body wants to eat just because I always eat in the mornings? And then I realized I wasn't really hungry. Like, I didn't really need any food. And yet my body had this like pull towards eating at that moment that I realized was not necessary. And when I asked myself, well, what is that feeling that is pulling me, like, this wants to quickly come out of the garden, put my shoes back on, and go and make breakfast? What was that feeling? And as I asked into myself, I realized there was a fear there. A fear of anxiety, a mixture between anxiety and boredom and just needing to feel full, needing to feel like I needed to stock up on as much food as possible, but irrational and unnecessary. And so I realized, well, I don't want that fear. No, it's not a actual need from the body, it's just a fear. And so in that moment I thought, well, you know what, I don't want that fear in my life. I'm just not going to eat. And then I just got struck with some clarity that, oh, I guess I'm not going to eat until the ceremony, which was 3 days away. And so I asked into myself, and I thought, oh, no, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to eat. So I stopped eating. I didn't eat on that Wednesday, or that Thursday the next day, or on Friday. So it was 3 days, and the ceremony was on Friday. And so when I got there, I had not eaten anything for 3 days. And I was feeling surprisingly healthy, surprisingly well. When I did that, it really felt like my body understood and felt, okay, I'm not eating. And a lot of the discomforting fear that was there at the beginning just kind of calmed down. It dissipated. So I arrived in this half-starved state. Not half-starved, but not having any food in me. And so it was, part of me wanted to have a strong effect of ayahuasca so that I would truly like come out of my body and really feel a lot of vivid experiences outside of my body. And that was not what happened. Not quite. So because I told the ceremony leader that I had fasted for 3 days, she insisted that I did not take a lot of ayahuasca at the beginning, but rather just a small dose. So for the first draught, I only drank like a small dose, and so I drank it, and then I was on the mattress and feeling it out, feeling, and there was really nothing coming up. I felt really nothing, except for just like a little bit of a feeling of wanting to vomit, but I had nothing to vomit, and it wasn't very strong. So I just kind of waited for an hour, felt impatient, and felt like I want some kind of effect. And then an hour later I asked again, and then I got like a normal sized dose, and then I drank it, and then immediately the feeling of wanting to vomit kind of like came back really quickly, but then dissipated very, very quickly as well. And then what I had was this desire to go and poop, like immediately. And so I thought, okay, well, I guess we're pooping. Okay. And then as I was on the way to the bathroom, I was already starting to have some kind of feelings, visions within me. Visions of that I was made out of a multitude of channels, and through the channels were traveling faces and concepts and colors and shapes of all kinds in a very multidimensional arcadey way, sort of way. Like there were many entities traveling through my body. And I was feeling that at the same time as I wanted to go poop. So I got up, I went out to the bathroom, made my way to the toilet, began to poop. And then this was interesting because as I was on the toilet and I was closing my eyes because I was in a meditative state, I was feeling all these channels around me, right? And then just as my body began to poop, I could feel my focus go directly towards the channel of my intestine. It was very clear, very vivid, like whoa, I could feel the intestine there and all the poop inside. And I could feel and see all the like the squishiness of the mass that was of the matter inside the intestines. And so as I was as I began pooping, it, I could also see and feel internally how there was this force, sort of like squishing all the poop, like squishing it out of my intestines. Um, and so I pooped. Like, but it was very large, very long, very smooth, and it truly felt like it was like the, how would I call it? Like a, you know how there are these things that you sell that are pate? Pate, they are some kind of squished meat in a, like in a plastic, in a plastic film. It was exactly like that. As if I was taking this thing and I was like squishing the thing like a big tube of toothpaste, as if it was a very intentional act. And yes, if something or someone inside of me was squeezing out everything that was left in there and getting it out. It didn't feel at all disgusting to me. It just felt like the, what do you call it? The refuse of my body, the waste products of my body, that it needed to go somewhere. And and it felt like that was the purge that ayahuasca was doing upon me, was giving me. It was because I had nothing to vomit. Then it went to the matter that was in my intestines, and I thought, oh, well, there is something I can expel. So I don't know exactly energetically whether something was placed in there and something was purged, but it felt like it. It felt like the cleansing through the matter that was happening was passing through my poop. It was like it went in there, and then something in there just squeezed it out, and I could like even see inside how much was left, and there was almost nothing left, barely just the remains on the walls of the intestine. Everything else just, it felt so much like a purge. I felt so very clean afterwards. Or not the word clean, empty perhaps, just emptied, like released. So I felt that, and all this time I was feeling all these channels inside of me still like moving, golden channels, energy moving through, and faces going through, and I had no idea what it meant. Oh, actually, it felt like after I pooped, it felt like the plant ayahuasca itself, kind of its roots, its tentacles, branches, were growing into my channels, growing through my channels, like they were taking over all of my being, made out of these channels, and they were like filling up all of me. And for a little while, I felt fear that I was being taken over, that I was being invaded, being possessed by the plant, because it truly felt like it was filling up, like, and then I was feeling, well, if the plant completely grows inside of me, then what remains of me? So it felt a little bit for a while that I was like being possessed by an alien, or by the plant entity. That was just a fear for a little while, though. It certainly didn't feel like that afterwards. And so after the bathroom, I went back in the mattress. And as I was in the mattress, there was some music that started, well, that it was still playing, and some of it began to make my body want to dance. I think I didn't even go to the mattress. I think I just stepped back into the room, and the music was good, and I just started to dance, and I just danced and danced and danced and danced and danced. And I found an empty space in the room right beside where the furnace was. Oh yes, I remember. I was there and I had this feeling that I knew many things. Like I was having dialogues with myself, and it felt like anything I wanted to know, I could ask myself, and I would find the answer to it. And I felt this is amazing, great. And then I started thinking, well, what do I ask myself? And I realized I don't want to know anything. There's nothing that I'm interested in knowing. Not like what's going to happen to me or what path to choose or what's my future or nothing. I wasn't interested in nothing, anything. So I thought, well, that's weird. And, and then I thought, oh, I know. Someone else should ask me stuff. And then so I went to one of the ceremony leaders and I told him, hey, I need your help. Can you come with me? And then he said yes. So we went over to this empty space and we sat down and I told him, hey, I feel like I'm in a very introspective mood right now and I can provide answers. So please ask me anything that you want to ask me. I think I can provide you with answers or channel answers to you. And then I think I told him this as clearly as I could. And I don't know if he understood because all he did was like he said, and looked at me. And so I looked at him and closed my eyes and like waited for questions to come. And there were no questions. He didn't ask anything. And so I told him again, you can ask me anything you want, something like that. And he just didn't do anything at all. He just kind of looked at me in a very peaceful manner and a very deep manner. There was a lot of intention happening. But in retrospect, I just find it so funny that I was trying to ask him, hey, ask me something, I can tell you stuff. And he was like, the other. Silence, nothing. And still like very conscious and looking at me and in a very supportive way. And then after a while he left and we said we were honored to be with each other, which we truly felt. And then I was left in my own space and my body began to dance and I allowed it. And I allowed it to dance and to move and to feel the music around me and I could even feel, well, am I showing off a little bit of how it feels? And I'm like, yes, this is good how it feels. And the focus was not the showing off, but it was the movement, and it just spilled out into showing off because there was so much of it. I could feel so much honor that I felt like I wanted to honor the leaders of the ceremony who were providing this beautiful service to us, holding a space for us where we could explore ourselves in such depth. And I was very happy about it, and I saw them and I honored them from afar. I truly felt like I was honoring them, and I saw them and they saw me, and there was much acknowledgement of each other across the room. All the way across the room, they were on one side and I was completely on the other. Because in that moment I felt empty, like literally empty, having pooped everything. I felt like a channel of light. Like I truly could channel anything. And I felt honored to life. And as I instinctively turned my head upwards, my face, my attention upwards, I could feel that there was this potent ray of light going through me and being coming down to earth and being in a way transmitted towards the earth, looking for our place to ground in the earth. At this time, I remember I had still not eaten. There was no food. And I realized, and I realized that, like, I haven't eaten and I'm not hungry. No, not at all. My body was not looking for food. And so I pondered upon it and I realized I am clean. I feel clean. I feel nothing. I don't have a need for food. Why is that? And then I realized I had found calm within me. A feeling of calm, of trust. This communication and trusting communication between us where my body truly trusted me to take care of it. Because we had conversations about this. Sometimes he would be afraid and say, hey, give me food. And then I turned to him and told him with all the sincerity and attention that I had, I am taking care of you. Don't worry. Yes, we don't have food right now, and it's okay. Don't worry. You'll be fine. I know that I can take care of you properly. And at that moment, I felt how much calm my body had reached. There was no need to eat, nothing. Even sometimes when I felt a little bit low on energy, it felt like, oh, I am taking care of you. There was this trust, this calm, the very, very deep calm, very peaceful calm. And the realization I had in that moment was that when we allow such a feeling of calm within us, then everything flows around us. Everything flows. And we are not providing ourselves, our own lives, our own movement with friction of doubt of, is this the right thing? Should I get more? Should I get less? Should I do this? Should I do that? But rather when there is calm, then things happen and we do not interfere. Not with what is happening around us, not with the decisions of other people, not with our own decisions, not with our own actions or our own inactions. Everything is the flow that we allow. And such a feeling of calm can only come from a deep feeling of trust in everything that is happening around us, in the being that we are, in the decisions that we happen to take and not to take. Everything. And even when we feel fear and feel doubt and then want to feel like are guilty of us for doing so and feel like, oh, I ruined it, all of that is also okay. Because it's just a matter of realizing that the state in which we are is the only state. There is little use in trying to rush things, in trying to make things be different from what they are. I mean, change allows things to become different, but the way they are right now is unchangeable. Because the present is unchangeable. The present is. change occurs through time. But graceful change can only occur through trust of the present, through acceptance of the present. So that is the realization that I had about calm. I wrote it down. Calm. Deep calm. And so this beam of light that I felt from above, I wanted to help it, to aid it, to channel it to the earth. And as I did this, I felt how this light was like coming down in a beam, a very wide and strong, powerful beam, straight vertically down, coming to earth. And so my body naturally came and brought it down to the ground. And it felt like it sunk directly into the earth, and the earth received it. It felt like the earth was this hole, like a container, a receptacle, infinite receptacle that could absorb all the light that was brought to it. And I helped with it. I put my attention on the light and helped the light to come to the ground, I think, through my focus, through my attention. It felt like there was a hole in the ground, like an energetic hole in the ground. And it truly, like it was connected to the actual place that we were in, the land. That land felt receptive. It felt like ready to absorb, to receive all this light that was coming from heaven. And I attempted to guide the light, to give it momentum to come to the earth. And I felt a resonance between the feeling of calm that I had and that feeling of infinite receptivity from the earth. The infinite receptivity of the earth also seemed to come from a deep, infinite feeling of calm. When there is absolute calm, then there is absolute openness. And it is then ready to receive anything that is brought to it. And all this light, it felt like there was a lot of light that was pure from heaven, like pure energy. But there were also other things, like there was emotions, both from the collective and emotions from the collective that resonated with emotions in myself, like things like guilt and shames and fears and angers and joys and enthusiasms and disappointments, and they all like channel it down. Like it was not just pure like blissful energy, but everything just coming down from somewhere. And I felt it, and I realized it is this calmness that allows everything. It's not rejecting anything at all. No guilt, no shames, no fears, no angers, no disappointments. Everything was just like received, taken in a absolute feeling of yes, yesness, yes. This is it. Yes. Calm. Absolute feeling of calm. I pondered upon that feeling of calm most of the night. And the feeling that when we are calm in ourselves, then can flow be true and graceful around us and through us. And we can experience life in the fullness of its reflection of what we are. I don't think this means necessarily that life will be more intense or more joyful or emotional or successful in any way. I mean, not in any material way, but rather simply that life will find the correct flow for each of us when we find and accept that calmness within us. That's how I felt. One more insight that I felt during this night was a feeling about the music. There was music in the room, and I was in these feelings of pondering calm and light and earth and ground and everything. And then I came to feel abstract concepts that don't have any words, that are divine, abstract, spiritual concepts that relate to harmony, beauty, truth, but in a way that is more nuanced and subtle than simply the concepts as these words say them, but like finer. And as I listened to the music, I could feel how music was in a way like it felt like it was building structures in space. Building structures, like a particular piece of music, it felt to me like there was this disc, and from this disc there arose like a small column, and from this column another disc came, another column, and a disc and a disc and a disc and a disc, like it was like forming a kind of tower, like and then multiple of them at the same time. And I could feel, I sensed how those structures that were emerging through the music into my psyche, they were the closest approximations that I have felt through these abstract concepts of divinity and spirituality that I was just referring to. Like these concepts, they have no. It's not easy to give it a word, or even to represent it in space. But somehow these shapes slash emotions, movements that the music was inducing in me, it felt to me like it was building the structure of these concepts. Like these concepts could be channeled through the music into the world. And And I'm not sure what that means. I don't know. But yes, it felt like music carried the most subtle information in my psyche, the most um, sensory manifestation I have ever felt of these concepts was through that music in that moment. I could feel how the structures were being built out of the music, and I felt, oh, wow, music is the best approximation that we have to these abstract concepts, abstract, divine, spiritual, subtle concepts. And they were fragile in my mind. I think they were fragile because my mind is it can be unstable sometimes. But they lasted for a little while. It felt like fountains of structure, of concepts, like psychological substance being made form. Like they were growing in abstract space, not necessarily in physical space, but in abstract space, which also had shapes. But it felt like it was coming like from the center of the room. It was growing, and I could like I was trying to find what it meant, what it meant in for this reality that I know of. The physical reality, the emotional reality, the mental reality. How does that relate to it? I don't know. But there was something in the music that I felt music can channel the structure of subtle spiritual divine concepts somehow. Fountains. Fountains of calm, of joy, of beauty. And that was most of the ceremony. After that, most of the ceremony ended and I went back, and I did actually go pretty kind of far outside of my body. Not far, I had still had control, but my body was very collapsed. It was like, ugh, I just preferred to be like this, and I could feel everything, and I knew everyone around, who was around me. But when people told me, okay, it's time to go sleep, it was, I was in a state of, I didn't want to go back, didn't feel like I had enough energy to respond. So the fasting actually did affect me, affect my body quite a lot. So I left a lot of the awareness from my body. I left my body awareness for some time. That was it, I think. After that, I did spend a few hours, like, still in these states of, like, feeling and pondering about concepts within me. But I described the most of it. Divine, there was the feeling of divine light coming to earth. Such honor, such calm, beingness. There is the feeling that music transmits into substance and to form the concepts of the divine and the spiritual and the subtle. And then there was also the time when I purged from my body. What was very interesting about that poop is that it was large. It was very large. I didn't know that I had enough poop in my body to actually get all of that outside. Mm-hmm. So that's what happened. December the 10th, Ayahuasca ceremony number 7. That is all.